So I gotten a few requests on how to make banners, and if you haven't seen my profile picture video that I posted a few months ago, it's basically the same thing, except this time it's an actual banner, not a profile picture. Yeah, and so I wanted to make this just to, like clear up a few things. If anyone has any questions, just be sure to DM me on Discord or just leave a comment down below. I'll try to get to most of them, but sadly if I don't make it to yours, you might just have to find out how to fix it on your own. But like I said, I will try to get to most of them. So yeah, let's start. So pretty much down below in the description, I'll just leave a link to a folder that looks similar to this. Basically the things that you're gonna want are like an FMR 5.0 remix edit, which is pretty much the actual Minecraft skin that you're gonna use. It's the exact same thing that I used in like my other tutorial that I used. So yeah, you'll have this thing. Also, you'll have Lightroom by Atmo Artworks. This is your Cinema 4D file that you're gonna use. I can also leave below like the cape rig. So basically this is a rig for capes, so you can pretty much add capes to your Minecraft character and you can like customize them and stuff. A sword rig, that is like for custom swords, because if you don't like swords from just a normal texture pack, or yeah, from like the normal textures of Minecraft, and you want something that looks a little bit cooler, yeah, so you're gonna want the sword rig from here. This is the Minecraft Ultra mod pack. Sadly it is in Spanish, so yeah, but if you speak Spanish then that's cool, but then if you don't, you can I guess translate it, because I myself don't speak Spanish and I just haven't gone through like changing them all to English, because it would just be very time consuming and I don't really want to do that. But yeah, I don't really talk about that one. So also I have an Ender Dragon thing. Honestly, I don't think I'll really be adding this down below, but I probably will if you do want an Ender Dragon rig. And it is a really good Ender Dragon rig. I used it in my own banner, and you guys can use it too if you want. There's also a flower rig, so if you guys want to add in like some flowers and stuff, you can have that. So pretty much for the actual Minecraft skin, it's gonna be the same, or at least pretty much the same as what I did in my profile picture video. If you haven't seen that, I'll link it down below in the description. But basically what you're going to want to do is open up the Lightroom file here, and then when you do have that open, you can drag in the FMR edit. Just drag that in here, and then be sure to double click on this. Like I saw some people, they got kind of confused. Be sure to double click on this little thing here, and then hit OK. And then if you just scroll down here, you'll see this little black model thing, and what you can do is just click this up here in the corner. I'll just go full screen, and then usually all these things will be selected. You can just go ahead and hit options, and then where it says skin, if you click this little like 3 dot thing, or you can just select a skin. That did not work. Yeah, you can just go ahead and select a skin. Like this is one that I did before. This is actually done on Fiverr, so if you guys can't make one or just don't want to, like for whatever reason, like that makes sense, you can buy one for my Fiverr. It's like $5 for a profile picture, $10 for a banner. Yeah, if you're interested, it should be linked to my YouTube banner thing. Like there should be the link there that you can click. If you are interested, you can buy one from there, but if you're not, you can just check out this tutorial. So pretty much, if you didn't see my other tutorial, there's this website that you can go onto called the Skindex, and just to sum it up, you're going to want your skin to be a Steve model. So not an Alex, you're going to want to have like the big arms. Because if you don't, one sec, let me show you. If you don't have the Steve model, this is just another skin, you're going to see that over here, you can actually like look inside of the arms. And also like below. So you definitely do not want that. So I'll just go ahead and change it back to that. Yeah, so as you can see, like when it's fixed, the arms don't bug out like that. And then also what you're going to want to do is make sure that if your skin has like actual arms, I know like not all skins do, but if it has like hands and everything, you're going to want to have the hands go like 1 pixel up that looks kind of like this, even if it's not on the original one. Oh, and also another thing that's important is that with the actual face, what you should be doing is taking out the eyes. So if I go ahead and turn off the face, as you can see, I just took the eyes right out. And the reason is why I did this, because if I go back to like this, if I go back to that, you see like this one has like the original eyes in it, but then if I turn on like the face again, you can see that the eyes are still visible below. So yeah, be sure to just take the eyes completely out, because if you don't, it's just gonna not look right. Do those things and your skin should be completely fine. And so just another quick thing on like actually extruding. So if you don't know what extruding is, it's just basically making certain elements pop out more. Yeah, basically what you want to do is be sure that you're selecting the FMR thing, go to layers, and then where it says 5.0 body, this one right here, just unlock it, then you can click the head again, and here you go, you can move it. So what I like to do is just go where it says position, do like -100, do this, and be sure that you're selecting this thing, polygons, and left selection. Then if you hold down shift on your keyboard, you can just select like that. Then if you go back to attributes right here, be sure that you're here, hit D on your keyboard, and then extrude will come up. This maximum angle, be sure that this is on like 90, like that, and then offset, I like doing like around 3 centimeters just because it's not too much, but it's also not too little. And then you can just like select stuff like that by hitting shift. I might turn this down to like 2. So yeah, you can see this. And then if I move the background by going down to the position and setting the X value to 0 instead of -100, you'll see now that the hair just kind of pops out a bit, and I think it looks pretty nice. And of course you can take this further with like the entire skin, but since this is just a quick little tutorial, I'm not really going to go too in depth with that, but honestly you can play around with it. Oh, and also another important thing that you do is that after you extrude, you go back here, and instead of having it on polygons, be sure to select it on this top one, model, and then also you can go back to the normal move tool right here. Yeah, so after you have this, basically you can click back here at the FMR 5.0 edit, then you can just play around with all these settings, like if you want the pupils to be smaller or bigger, if you want the eyebrows to like be like more in depth or not, you can play around with that. Another important thing that you should do though is that by default, the second layer of the skin will not actually be ticked on, except for like the head, like that's ticked on. So basically what you want to do is go down to body parts. Like I said before, with the Steve skin, it says right here, like body part second layers only work with Steve models. So like with fixing the arm thing and then also fixing this, you're just gonna want to like tick all this on. You can see like now it's added the outside stuff. And so once again with the outside stuff as well, you can do the extruding. Yeah, it's completely up to you. And then if you want to play around with the actual expression and everything, what I like to do is just go here to this little thing and then just swipe it up. It kind of takes away some of these little squares that you can see. It makes it a little bit more visible. And then this one here will just turn on and off this little side panel here. So basically these different things adjust what the character looks like. You can just like move the eyes around, change like the expression and everything. So if you want to, you can play around with that, just reset it. And then another thing you can do is just like, if you click and hold like these little blue things here, you can like change the pose a bit. So if you want to like make it look kind of like that, it's up to you, you can. And then also if you like click it and then go to the rotate thing here, or you just hit R on your keyboard, you can then go ahead and rotate it like that. So I hope that this does sum it up for the actual like creation of the Minecraft character. I do go more in depth about this in my profile picture tutorial, and you can also probably find tutorials on this on other YouTube channels and just other YouTube videos. And then when you actually do have your skin like all set out, like maybe I'll have this arm over here like that. Maybe just something cool like this. Oh. Like this looks a little bit weird. Not really trying to make it look too good though. So let's say you have it like that. Yeah, let's say you have it like something like this, and then if I'll just use like the cape rig for an example. So if you go back to this folder that I made right here, and you select like the cape rig, once again doing the same thing with the FMR edit thing, just drag it in, and then you can choose on. So I'm just gonna go for image, the image cape, and then it'll just plop down here. And then what you can do is be sure that you're selecting it, and then I'll just like come in through the back and slide it up. And then you can play around with it, like if you double click it, if you just click it and you go onto it and you like click this top one here, basically you can just play around with it. Like, you can like rotate it and stuff, or maybe that doesn't really look good. But yeah, you can adjust the cape if you wanted to. I'm going to delete it since I don't really want the cape in this. But yeah, you could. And the same thing goes for the actual sword. You can take the sword, where is it? C4D Rig. Then there are a bunch of different ones here. So if you go for like Extruding's sword thing, you can choose like that. Then as you can see, it basically just brought like the sword from his texture pack in here. And I just want to say, I didn't make any of these rigs. I found them all off of YouTube, but I just want to compile them in here so it just makes it easier for you guys to find them. Yeah, so say you have the sword here, you can just like position it for the arm, using these little sliders over there. Well, yeah, I'm not really going to use any of this stuff just because it's simply a tutorial and I don't think I really have to get in like too in depth about that specific stuff. So instead I'll just like briefly, like I said many times, briefly go over all this so that you guys can really just play around with it. And yeah, if you guys do need help, just message me down below. A lot of it can get a little bit complicated, but I hope it's not too complicated, like too complicating. Another thing that I didn't really talk about is if you right click here, you can kind of like adjust rotation like that, and then you can also like go in and out. Well, of course you can go in and out with like any like that. Well, yeah. And then this basically just shows like different side views. And if you want to go out of this, you can just hit it again, or you can just like middle click that, or you can just middle click any of that and it works. Basically when you go to actually like export it, an important thing that you should do, or just like to quickly go over the exporting settings, what you want to do is just click on this thing over here. Make sure the output is set to this stuff. If you want to change the actual like the width and height in terms of pixels, and you don't want it to be in like 1080p, you can go for like 4K or like 2K or 8K even if you wanted to. But the reason why I go at 1080p is just because the file size isn't too large, and to be completely fair, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. So, I mean, you could go 4K, it might look a little bit crisper, but there's absolutely no need to, so I just keep it at 1080p. Basically, when you do that, output, if you want to, you can keep it like this. Really, you just want to worry about like these two things here. And then save, this is where you can change the save thing. So I'll just do this like tutorial, that, and then you can just close off. And then what you want to do then is just hit the render to picture viewer. But before I do that, if you wanted to know what it looked like when it's rendered, you can just hit this render view, and then it will quickly render you an image of what it would look like rendered. And you can just click to like get out of it. But basically when you are done, you can just hit that and it will export it to where you saved it. Once you have, I'd say 2 skin renders of like these complete, I like to use like 2 or 3, but you can honestly use 1 if it's up to you, or it just depends of like what else you have in it. Like if you use any mobs, which I'll link down below in that pack as well, like in the folder. Yeah, you can add mobs to it. Like basically with the mobs it's the same thing. You just like import the file, then you just double click on the one that you want. So it's like the completely same thing, and then you can just adjust it. So once you have like the stuff that you want, to add text, like if you want to add text, I say like, oh, please subscribe, or like whatever you want. What you can do is go to where it says MoGraph. You can just like click and hold. Actually, you can just click. Then you can go down to where it says MoText, and then it'll create like this text for you. Okay. Basically, you can go to the properties like down here. Yeah, if you go to object, like in the properties over here, you can just change where it says text to like, I don't know, let's get an example, like, I'll just do like tutorial. It'll basically go like this, and then if you want to, you can like change the font. Just go like tutorial, and then maybe you want to like change the depth a little bit, like out a little bit. The height, it's basically just the size, the spacing. Let's just say it's like this. Okay, so you have like the tutorial thing. If you wanted to, you could like go here where it says like this thing. Oh, oops. What you can do is like, say you wanted to have a sort of a, let's do like let's do like a twist. You can take the twist thing, and then if you just like click and hold, you can see like the little arrow thing basically that just like does that. Yes, basically once you have this thing connected to the MoText thing, you could go down to where it says angle, and then you can just like play around with it. So you can go like negative, positive, and then you can just like move around this little box thing that you see, and it'll just play around with like what the text looks like. So you can use twist for this. You can also use like any of the other ones. There's like bend, melt, bulge, all that stuff. So once again, if I go with like bulge, just move it down to like there, and then strength, you can just change this. I probably won't do it with bulge because I don't think it'll really look good, but you can definitely do it with like twist. So I go with something that looks kind of like that. So now I got this like text over here, and once again you can just change it, like play around with the settings, like the font you can change. In fact, I might change it to like, I don't know, you can do like Minecraft, yeah, but I'm not going to. In fact, I think I'll just stick with like Agency FB as the one I do, but honestly you can just play around with it. Like maybe you can go with like that. Like that looks pretty cool. I don't really have no like good fonts. Like, what's this one? Bebes New? I think that's how you say it, I'm not sure. This is a cool one. I think I'll just stick with this. Basically, once you have a font and like a text that looks cool, you can just position your camera, and then if you want to like add color to it, you can double click in this little area down below. It'll create a new one like over here, and then you can just change like the colors. Let's say you want it to be like, well, let's just keep it white like this, and then we can add in another text below that says something like subscribe, a little bit smaller. If we go to scale, just make it a little bit smaller. Let me go back to move. Kind of it say like over here, like subscribe, and then with the subscribe text, I might just take like a red that I made earlier. Just take it, like that. You can just drag it on like that. So now it'll look something like this, and of course this isn't actually like lined up properly, so I'll just slide it below. Oh. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, basically, so now we have this sort of thing, and it looks pretty fancy. So this is kind of like how you do it with text. You can play around with it, of course. This is just something that I would do. When you're done, once again, you can just go to like the render thing. I'll say this like tutorial text, and then I'll just go ahead and render it. So once you got both those things rendered, you can head into Photoshop, and I'll leave below like a template thing here. Basically what it is that you'll have these two things. One of them is like these two black grayish bars, and the other one are like just some layer styles that you can use. So YouTube banners, of course, the dimensions are different to normal pictures, just like normal like 1920 by 1080p pictures. So this one, basically, if you open it, it'll automatically have the dimensions for you. And with these blue lines that you see, it'll be the different dimensions on different devices, because with like a TV, you can see the entire thing, but with like a phone, obviously you can't. So you want to keep everything that's important in like this first box here, and then everything outside is like not as important. So basically, once you got like two renders, I'll get my two right here. Like that. This is actually a profile picture that I made, and then this is the one that I just made now. Yep, so basically now we have all three things in. So you have the text right here, this is like tutorial, please subscribe. Yeah, so basically now we have all three of these things in. You have like two different characters, we have text. Of course you can add other stuff, but this is just what I have. So I will pretty much put the text right here in the middle. A little bit smaller like that, and then also it's important that you select all this stuff and put it down below at the bottom, because you want to be sure that these things at the top remain at the top, because if not, then the other stuff will be on top of that, and it just doesn't work. So now something you gotta do, as I always say, is be sure to rasterize all of your layers. You can do so by clicking the layer, like just over here, right click, hit rasterize. If you right click like over here, this comes up and you don't really want that, so be sure to go like that. And then if you're selecting one of them, and do like Control and T, scale, yeah, scale. So then you can go ahead and just make this a little bit smaller. And since like since banners, they actually appear pretty big. So if you're worried like that your stuff is gonna be too small, don't be worried, because it's gonna be fine. So if I have one there, and then I can also have one there. Why is it doing that? Yeah, I just fixed it just by like doing undo, but they're pretty much both the same size. We also have like the text in the middle we made earlier, and of course we're gonna want to have like a nice background. So if you went to the, I forget if I actually have it, but I do have a Photoshop pack that just has different screenshots. It's called the Vanuz's SSP pack, screenshot pack. And I just found it off of YouTube. You can probably find other ones that are similar to this. Basically what it is a pack in Photoshop that's just filled with different screenshots. So let's say I want to go with like, was it like nature? Or like a forest. Different options here. I'll just go with like, I'll go with birch. Looks cool. Let's say we want to use, which one looks cool? Like this. So we can just like copy and paste, Control C, Control V, and move that down all the way to the bottom. And it's kind of cut off at the side, so once again we can just go to Edit, Transform, Scale, and just slide that over to fill it up. We can also probably change it a little bit. like that. And then you see we have like a cool background. Of course, it's not really looking really polished right now. Like we just have a few characters in, some text in the background, but we'll get on to fixing that a little bit. So something important that you do, like whenever you're making one of these banners, is coming up or is choosing a color theme. So you might look around and see like what the character's wearing or what the character is wearing or something, and I see that they are wearing green. So I think I will have a green theme for this banner. Of course, you don't have to. You can just have it like any color, but I think it does really benefit the banner when it has like a coherent theme. So in my case, I'm gonna do a green theme. So something you can do is like select this, like the bottommost layer, which would be the background, adding a layer above, and just selecting green simply, getting a brush, and then having a size around like 480 or like 511, and then just brushing over it like this. Simple enough. You get like a green thing. And you over here, where you can choose the different blending options. Right now it's set to normal, but you can go through it and you can go to like soft light, stuff like this. In my case, I think I'll go for hue just because it has like a green, but it's not like too vibrant and it doesn't like kill your eyes. So I'm gonna set it to that. And then also, you know, you can go to fill, which is kind of like how intense it is, if that makes sense. If it was like 0 fill, it'll be like nothing, but like 100, it'll be like obviously like this. And then opacity is kind of the same thing, except this is more like transparency. So they're both pretty similar, but I'm just gonna go with fill. And I'll set it to like an 80. Yeah, an 80% looks good. So yeah, I have this. And pretty much what you can do is, once you got that, you can select the different characters. So let's just start with this one right here, that one on the left. If you hit Control and then you click in this little box here, this little, like your mouse pointer will turn into a little hand with a box with a border around it. If you click that, as you can see, it will just automatically select your character. So if you do that and then create a new layer on top of that, it's important, then you select the brush tool. What you can do is kind of like play around with the lighting. So as you can see, there's like the sky over here behind the leaves. So I'll take a white thing, or like I'll take white, I'll take the brush, and then I'll just like brush over some white around here. And since it does get a little bit darker over there, I might get like some black and go like this. And so what this does is basically create like coloring almost. And then on top I might add some green as well, just a little bit. Just because like the theme is green, but I won't do too much because I want it, the actual coloring and shading to be like more vibrant than the green. But something like this looks good. You can play around with it, and don't worry if it looks like too powerful like that, or if it's like stands out too much, because if you take it, you can go to the blending options and then just play around with it. Like hard light, that looks pretty cool, so I'm gonna select it, and then the fill might take it down a bit to like, once again, like an 80. That looks about right. And then if you do like the same thing, if you select the other skin, well, you might have more, but if I select mine in this case, I'll do, once again, hold down Control and then click there. In this little white box, create a new layer. Be sure that you're selecting the brush tool, and then go for like white, a little bit like that. And then once again, I just get a little bit darker there. This. And just like that. And so as we did before, we did hard light, and the fill was down to like an 80, but in this case I did do a little bit stronger, so I'm gonna do a 70% fill, because all I have to do is look similar, or else it might not look, well, good. So now that we got these two skins done, as you can see, it looks more like they're actually in the background. The actual text doesn't necessarily look like that. So as we did before, we can just do Control and click on that little thing there and add new layer. And then we can just select the brush and do the same process. And so I might have the bottom be a little bit darker because the light isn't necessarily hitting the bottom, because that's just how I want it to look. And I also might take like a pale green and just like do some maybe like on the sides almost, kind of like that. And just some more white. And you can also like do some shading with like greens and stuff. I'm just gonna do something like that. So now once again it does look a lot more real, and we can take it, and then you can go for hard light again. But when you're doing the text, honestly, you can play around with it a little bit more. In fact, I think I'll just go with something like darker color maybe. Or maybe just like pin light, like that looks fine to be honest. And then fill, I can just turn it down a little bit to like 80, around 80. So now we got the text done. We want the characters just to stand out a little bit more, and I did do this like the same way in the profile picture thing. What I do is just take a layer above the green here, but then of course below the actual characters I just add one, make my brush black, and then just like click like once, you know how big your brush is, kind of like that, and then we'll just add a little bit of a back, or a little bit of a drop shadow sort of thing. But I'm gonna take the fill, or maybe I'll just take like the opacity, not make it as intense because we don't really want it to be that big of a deal, but we want it to make it look like they're popping off the screen a little bit. So now that we have this here, we can start doing some more color correction stuff to the background. I mean, you could have done that. You could have done this before, but I'm just doing it now. So I'll just make a new layer like on top of everything. So it looks like a white brush, and then in the corner here where like the sky is, or like right here, I want it to be a little bit brighter because I want it to look like the light is like going through, a little bit like right there, a bit in the bottom. So it looks kind of like this. I'll take this and the normal one, I'll just go as overlay, and what it does is it makes it look as if it's almost glowing, and the effect, it does look really cool because like you can see like without, just makes everything like look more realistic, if that makes sense. And doing this simply just adds glow, so if you want to make certain parts like brighter than they were before, you can do that, but I'm simply doing it like this, and of course you can do it slightly different if you want. Another thing you can do is like on top of everything, get a black brush and do something kind of like this, just make it a little bit darker like around the sides. It's something you can do. I used to do it a lot, but I don't really do it too much anymore, so I'm not going to, but it's completely up to you. Like sometimes it looks good, sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on like what the theme is, because if you're going for like a little bit of a darker theme, then yeah, it'll probably look cool, but in this case it's more of like a green lighter theme, so I'm not really planning on doing that. So as you can see, it's actually looking pretty good. I am going to open up some pictures that I have. Okay, so now it's looking pretty cool, but I just want to add some more stuff in it. So what I might do is take an image like this, which is just basically a picture of a cloud, or kind of like smoke, or like fog, something like this. You're gonna like want to drag it on here, and be sure that the thing is like on top of like everything else, but then of course below this. So I put it right here, I'll just delete that. Right click Rasterize, like I said, pretty important. And then you can go to like the blending, and then you can just play around with it. Like if you want it to be a little bit darker, you can go with something like subtract, but then if you want it to be lighter, you can do divide. Like it just depends on what you want to do. And also if you want to have like a more grayscale theme, you can go with hue, because it still has a little bit of color. But in my case, I think I'll go with like overlay or soft light, because it makes it look a little bit dimmer in certain parts, and I really like that effect before or after. Or what you can do is go with something like color dodge, and it'll just make everything brighter, which I think is actually what I'll go for, but it does seem a little bit strong in certain spots, so I can just go to fill and just tone that down a bit. Or what I can do is get the eraser and then just like erase the really bright spots like right there. I think that looks pretty good like that. So now if I go back in here, I don't think I'll link this down below since it's not really complete and I don't really want this to be out there. You can just look up like these different pictures. Like I looked up galaxy and I got this, and I looked up like cloud and I got that. Like you can just look this stuff up, or you can look for like fire PNG and get this, or lightning PNG and get that. You can just Google that stuff up, or if you actually have a GFX pack, like a full-on created one, you can use that. But I just didn't feel like looking for one, so I just put my own collection, or made my own collection. So what I'm gonna do is get like a picture of a galaxy and put that like on top of this one here, like the cloud. I'll just hit enter and then rasterize, and then what you can do is go to image adjustments, hue and saturation, and you can just find, in my case it's gonna be like a green sort of thing, like this. Okay, and then I'll just go to the blending options and go for like maybe overlay. No, I'm gonna go for soft light probably. And then this just creates like these cool looking particles. And then you can just lower the opacity, or you can lower the fill. I think I'm gonna lower it to like 60% since I don't want it to be that strong. But if you're going for more of like a galaxy theme thing, or just like whatever works, you can have it like stronger or not as strong depending on like what it is. But in my case, I'm just gonna do it like that. And so if you go back to GFX, what I'll do is get some lightning, put it in, and then I'm gonna put my lighting like in pretty much in behind everything else, like back all the way over there. And since I put it behind the original green thing, it actually becomes green. We don't really have to worry about changing it ourselves. But I'm gonna angle it kind of like this, and now we have this cool lighting in the background, and I think it looks pretty cool. But of course, you don't have to do this. It's just what I want to do. Alright, so now that I have this, I might go ahead and even add like in some fire, since fire is probably like one of my favorite things and stuff like this. And then like always, you can just take it all the way down below the green layer. I'm gonna have it in front of the lighting, but then like in behind everything else, since that's how I plan to have it look like. Also, another important thing that you can do is just lock all the other layers so you don't accidentally move them. Because sometimes you might be trying to grab something, then you accidentally grab another layer, and it just gets really annoying. But for this, I'm just gonna do some underlaying fire maybe, kind of like this. I think it looks cool. In fact, yeah, I'll just leave it like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and rasterize. Actually, forgot to rasterize that, okay. Yeah, so we have this, and then I'll do Control J, which is copy and paste. Grab it, and I'll just move it over there. And in fact, I am kind of wanting to make the characters bigger, so what we can do is like select the character, then also shift click the layer above it, which was the coloring. Then you do Control T and then just make it a little bit bigger. So I'm just gonna make it like that instead of smaller. Then I can take the other one, this one, like Control T, and make it bigger, like that. So I do really like how this is looking, but of course not all of them are going to look exactly like this, so it is completely up to you on how you want them to look. I'm pretty sure that for me, this is going to be the end of the tutorial, but I will quickly show you guys how to export the image. So if you don't know how to use Photoshop and you don't know how to export images, basically you can go to where it says File, and then you can go to Export, and you go to Export As, or you can just click Export as a PNG. But when you do Export As, it gives you a little bit more power over what you want the quality to be. Like, you can change the image size and everything. But I do suggest that you leave this all how it already is, because if you do change it, YouTube might read it a little bit differently and then alter like the colors or just the actual dimensions. So try to leave this all how it is. Yeah, and then when you're done, you can just hit Export. When you do hit Export, you can just choose like where it exports to, then also the name. Hopefully this tutorial did help you guys out. I'll be linking this stuff below for you guys to use. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't. Please check out my other tutorial on the profile pictures. Hopefully this video also does pretty well. Yeah, comment down below just anything. Like I said, if you have any problems that you need help with. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. See ya.